Before we talk about Gaddafi, let's first talk about Libya. Libya is a country with a long history full of ancient empires, foreign rule, and hidden wealth. Libya is a North African nation stretching from the vast sands of the Sahara Desert to the blue waters of the Mediterranean Sea. It borders Egypt to the east, Tunisia and Algeria to the west. Libya is the fourth largest country in Africa and the Arab world. Libya stands out as one of Africa's richest nations in natural resources, with vast reserves of oil and gas. For many years, Libya was controlled by Western powers. The Phoenicians, Greeks, Romans, and Ottomans all ruled part of the land. In 1911, Italy invaded and turned Libya into a colony. After World War II, Libya was under British and French control, and then in 1951, the United Nations granted Libya independence, and King Idris became its first ruler. It became the United Kingdom of Libya, with King Idris as the first ruler. Libya began as a poor, mostly rural country with small villages scattered around the desert. Everything changed in 1959 when oil was discovered. Suddenly, Libya became one of the richest countries in Africa. Foreign companies rushed in, building roads, airports, and modern cities almost overnight. The country seemed full of promise. But most Libyans did not feel the benefit. King Idris ruled from Benghazi, far from the daily struggles of the masses. Political parties were banned, corruption was widespread, and many citizens felt ignored, powerless, and frustrated. This growing anger created an opportunity for a young and ambitious army officer named Muammar Gaddafi. He promised change, fairness, and a new future for Libya. Ideas that quickly won the attention and support of many who had long felt left behind. Gaddafi's early life was full of hardship and poverty. He was born in 1942 in a tent near Sirte, in the harsh desert of Tripolitania, Libya. His family were poor Bedouins, people who moved from place to place with their animals. They had no electricity and very little resources. Even with these struggles, Gaddafi was smart, curious, and ambitious. As a boy, he admired Arab leaders like Egypt's president Gamal Abdel Nasser, who spoke out against colonial powers and wanted Arab nations to unite. Gaddafi went to school in Sabha, where he started to show interest in politics. He often talked about freedom and fairness. His bold actions made him stand out among other students. After finishing school, he studied history for a short time at the University of Libya, but soon joined the army. For poor Libyans like him, the military was one of the few ways to build a better life. He trained at the Royal Military Academy in Benghazi, where he learned discipline, leadership, and strategy. While in the army, Gaddafi met other young soldiers who shared his dream of changing Libya. Together, they formed a secret group called the Free Officers Movement. This group planned to end the monarchy and take power, a plan that later succeeded in 1969. On September 1st, 1969, while King Idris was in Turkey for medical treatment, 27-year-old army officer Muammar Gaddafi led a quick and bloodless coup. Gaddafi and a group of young officers took control of government buildings, military bases, and radio stations. By the next morning, King Idris was removed and the monarchy ended. Gaddafi and his group created the Revolutionary Command Council (RCC) and declared the start of the Libyan Arab Republic. He became the head of the council and the commander-in-chief of the army, and the new leader of Libya. After taking power in 1969, Muammar Gaddafi quickly began reshaping Libya. He removed US and British military bases. He expelled the remaining Italian and Jewish communities. And in 1973, he nationalized all foreign-owned oil companies, taking full control of Libya's main source of wealth and ensuring that profits stayed within the country. New schools, hospitals, and housing were built nationwide. Education became free and compulsory, raising the literacy rate from about 25% to nearly 87%. Alcohol and gambling were banned to align with Islamic values, part of his broader plan for an Islamic socialist society. Many citizens saw real progress and viewed Gaddafi as a revolutionary hero. One of Gaddafi's most ambitious achievements was the Great Man-Made River Project, the world's largest irrigation system. It was designed to bring fresh water deep beneath the Sahara Desert to Libya's coastal cities like Tripoli and Benghazi, providing clean water for homes, farms, and industries. Under his rule, Libya became one of the richest countries in Africa. Citizens enjoyed free healthcare, education, and subsidies for homes and electricity. University education and even studying abroad were funded by the government. Gaddafi also introduced social programs to help average families. He offered financial support to young couples who wanted to get married, helping them with housing and wedding expenses. Newlyweds received free land, homes, and cash gifts to start their lives. He encouraged family life and aimed to reduce poverty through generous welfare programs. However, while Gaddafi modernized Libya and improved living standards, he also ruled with tight control. Political oppositions was not tolerated, and anyone who criticized him was often imprisoned or silenced. Still, his early years in power were marked by huge changes that transformed Libya from a poor desert nation into one of Africa's most developed and wealthiest countries. Muammar Gaddafi rejected traditional systems of government, such as democracy and dictatorship, introduced his own political philosophy, known as the Green Book, claiming it was a third way between capitalism and communism. Libya became the Jamahiriya, a so-called state of the masses, but in reality, Gaddafi held absolute power. Muammar Gaddafi was not just the leader of Libya, he was a man with a dream far bigger than his country. He wanted to change the entire African continent. In 1999, Gaddafi helped transform the old Organization of African Unity into what we now know as the African Union. His goal was a united Africa, strong, independent, and free from Western and colonial influence. He believed Africa could stand on its own, and he wanted to be the one to make that happen. Before focusing on Africa, Gaddafi had tried to unite the Arab world. He wanted Libya, Egypt, Syria, and Tunisia to merge into one large Arab nation. But after several failed attempts, he realized it wasn't working. Then he turned his attention to Africa instead. From that moment on, his dream became a creation of a United States of Africa, having one currency, one army, one passport, and a continent united in governance, trade, and mobility, where borders would no longer divide people and countries could work together for shared growth and prosperity. To make this vision a reality, Gaddafi backed his words with action and investment. He poured billions into African development, funding schools, roads, telecommunication, networks, and even helping to launch airlines that connected African countries. Some African leaders admired Gaddafi's bold vision, while others questioned his true intentions. His dream of a united Africa never became reality. He poured billions into development projects across the continent and stood as one of Africans' loudest voices for unity and freedom from foreign control. Gaddafi's bold actions and outspoken politics earned him many enemies. Western controls often accused Libya of supporting terrorism. In 1986, the United States launched airstrikes on Tripoli and Benghazi after blaming Libya for a bombing at a Berlin nightclub that killed several US soldiers. The attack struck close to home for Gaddafi, and his adopted daughter was killed, sparkling outrage across the world. 2 years later, tragedy struck again on a global scale. A Pan Am Flight 103 exploded over Lockerbie, Scotland, killing 270 people. Western investigators accused Libyan agents of carrying out the bombing, but Gaddafi refused to hand them over, not for years, not even under growing international pressure. As a result, Libya faced several sanctions, diplomatic isolation, and economic hardship. The country's oil exports were restricted and its reputation in the world suffered greatly. Despite this, Gaddafi continued to defend his policies, claiming that Libya was being unfairly targeted by Western powers and that its nation would never bow to outside control. After the Lockerbie bombing and years of international sanctions, Libya became tense and deeply divided. The nation's isolation severely damaged its economy. Unemployment increased, and many families found it difficult to survive. The population grew frustrated with decades of Gaddafi's authoritarian rule, marked by strict political control, suppression of free speech, and widespread corruption. While some still remembered him as a revolutionary who had once challenged Western powers, many saw his government as outdated, oppressive, and disconnected from the needs of ordinary citizens. Tension and anger were building quietly across the country, setting the stage for a wave of protests. In early 2011, inspired by Uprising in Tunisia and Egypt, Libyans protested to demand freedom, jobs, and end to Gaddafi's 42-year rule. What started as a small protest in Benghazi quickly spread to other cities, including Tripoli, Misrata, and Sabha. Some of all ages joined the demonstration, calling for political reforms, justice, and a chance to have a say in the future of their country. Gaddafi responded with brutal force, with his army attacking protesters, using live ammunition and powerful weapons. The violence sparked fear across the nation, causing thousands to flee their homes, and soon the protests escalated into full-scale civil war. Entire neighborhoods were caught in the crossfire. Hospitals were overwhelmed with casualties, and the nations were thrown into chaos. The international community took notice. The United Nations condemned the violence and demanded that civilians be protected. They imposed a no-fly zone to protect Gaddafi's forces from using aircraft against citizens. NATO also intervened with airstrikes targeting Gaddafi's military, giving momentum to the rebel fighters. Despite this, the fighting remained intense, with many towns and cities damaged and civilian lives continue to be at risk. By October 2011, the rebel forces captured Gaddafi in his hometown of Sirte. He was killed shortly afterward, ending his 42-year rule over Libya. However, Gaddafi's death did not bring immediate peace or stability. Gaddafi's story is one of revolution, ambition, and controversy. He reshaped Libya and also left behind deep divisions. Today, Libya continues to search for peace, unity, and a future built by its people. The journey is far from over. Thanks for watching and see you guys in my very next one.